I've saved my progress as points-of-intersection.ai. In this exercise, we're going to work our way away from the points of intersection, and we're going to create these kind of radiant segments that are going outward. And the idea is every segment that we lay down has an equal and opposite segment. So, for example, what I mean by that is this segment that goes down his nose on the other side of his nose also represents this segment here at the top of his hair. And the segment down his face represents the segment along the top of his hair, and the segment along his arm represents the segment along the back of his hair, and so on. So every single one of these segments has to be absolutely identical. So let's start tracing away here. I'm working on the humanoid layer, and I'm going to go ahead and click on this segment right there. And I'm going to switch to my pen tool once again by pressing the P key. And I'm going to draw a few segments. So I'll click here, then I'll click, and I'll click, and I'll click. Now, I don't know how far I should go. I obviously should not trace the entire darn thing because I'm not exactly sure where these segments are going to line up elsewhere. But let's click a little farther here. I'm going to add a few points around the hand, for example. And this line right there is ultimately a straight segment, so I'll just click, and then I'll click down like that, click under his arm, and maybe I'll go a little bit farther. I'll drag away from that last point, from the end point, to add a control handle, and I'll drag at this location as well to add a smooth point at this location. And I'm going to press the space bar and drag it around a little bit just to get that point where I want it. I don't really know yet if these lines are going to work out, so I need to test them. And the way you test them is around the point of intersection once again. So get rid of those existing segments up there that we don't need because we're going to recreate them in just a second. And go ahead and grab this line with the black arrow tool. And I'll press the R key to switch to the rotate tool. And I'll alt-click once again at the top there on the bridge of the nose. And I'll enter my 120 degrees. And I'll press the tab key. And you know what? I don't really care what's going on this direction right now. What I do care about is how it's going to trace the other side of his head. So let's go ahead and flip that angle to negative 120 degrees. It should send it the other direction, and that works out beautifully. And I'll go ahead and click the copy button so that I have both of my lines here. And then I'll notice that I've gone too far. So I'm tracing into that other guy up there. And really what I want to do, I just want to craft him and only him. Later, I'll see if the other humanoids around him interlock properly. But if I get his lines down properly in the first place, his points of symmetry down right in the first place, then everything should work out. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to delete the segments that I don't need up here. So this point, obviously, is not something I need. And I'll shift-click on this point as well. And so that identifies these two segments, and then I'll press the backspace key to get rid of them. Well, if I do it there, I've got to do it over here as well. So I'm going to get this point, and I'm going to shift-click on this point. Now, how do I know those are my 2 points? Because I'm working from the end. I selected 2 points up there, so I should select those exact same 2 points down here and press the backspace key. This is the most surefire solution for working our way around the core outline. Now I'm going to go ahead and marquee these 2 points right there because this needs to be joined together. I need to join these 2 path outlines that I've created together at the point of intersection. So I'll go ahead and select them both. Again, I'm marqueing them with the white arrow tool. And now, instead of going up to the object menu, choosing path, and choosing the join command, which will join them automatically without any dialog box here inside Illustrator CS5, I want to join it the old school way, where I make a dialog box come up on screen. And you do that by mashing your fist down on the keyboard and pressing J. So instead of Control J, it's Control Shift Alt J, or on a Mac, it's Command Shift Option J. So let's go ahead and do that. And assuming I got those points exactly aligned with each other, when I press Control Shift Alt J or Command Shift Option J, I should get the join dialog box. If you don't see that dialog box and instead your points just slightly move on screen and join together, that's a problem. You don't want any automatic movement right now. Instead, you want the dialog box. So what you'd have to do, if you're not getting the dialog box, is you'd want to go ahead and grab your black arrow tool, click on this path outline right there, delete it, go ahead and select the first one again, press the R key to get your rotate tool, alt-click or option-click exactly at that endpoint to bring up the rotate dialog box, and that's the trick. You have to nail that endpoint. Then go ahead and enter negative 120 degrees, click on the copy button, press the A key to switch back to the white arrow tool, marquee around those points again, press Control Shift Alt J or Command Shift Option J in a Mac. You should hopefully see the dialog box now. Select corner and click OK. The reason I really want to see that dialog box is I want to make sure that these 2 points are exactly coincident. That is, they occupy precisely the same location inside of my illustration. And now I'll go ahead and click OK. And finally, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my stroke to red. And my stroke is currently active, so I'm just going to click in this red swatch here in the swatches panel. And the reason I'm making this path red is I need to color code these subpaths that are going to make up the larger path outline. And you'll see why shortly. All right, that's good for this exercise. In the next exercise, we'll extend our paths from the other points of intersection.